Well, good afternoon, YouTube. This is Chuck, and today I'm coming to you from the second floor of the museum, and we're going to talk a little bit about Payson Dew today. Well, what's Payson Dew, you might ask? Let me get around here where I can tell you. Well, the 18th Amendment, which is known as Prohibition, was passed in 1920. But a lot of you from out of state probably don't know that Arizona actually passed its own prohibition in 1915 and basically made the whole state dry before the 18th Amendment, 5 years. Well, you know, the bars up here in our area, we were pretty remote in those days. It used to take you a full day's drive to get here on dirt roads. And the bars were the social centers where everybody came, and it's kind of hard to get people that are used to having a little bit of alcohol, pretty hard to get them to give that up. And we found that out nationwide, of course, during Prohibition. But so what happened? It ended up all the liquor went kind of underground, so to speak, some of it literally, and we became known as a moonshining center. And we had some of the same locals that were trying to eke out a living in this country. They set up stills, and they used some of the excellent spring water that we have, and they actually made moonshine. And our moonshine became pretty famous. There was a lot of people from all over the western states knew about it. They called it Payson Dew. And the secret was our excellent spring water from the springs up underneath the Mogollon Rim. So this little display that we've got, and I'm going to get back around the other side of the camera so you can see it a little better, tells a little bit the story about it and some of the people that actually were involved in it, and the families that were involved in it are still around. So let me get back over here. Unfortunately, some of this plastic is angled just right. It picks up the reflection from the fluorescent lights. So if you want to pause that and read that right there, that'll kind of tell you a little bit more about it, kind of what I just told you about. Prohibition, of course, was repealed in 1933, but there was a lot of people made their cash money from that. We still have a street in town called Bootleg Alley, and for obvious reasons. This is a representative of what one of the old stills might look like. Even when I moved here in 1970, they supposedly said there's still some of the stills were still around, but I personally had never seen one. But one of the things that this was good for our area is that the people that lived here were pretty poor. And they had a lot of, they could meet all their basic needs. I mean, they could find food, and they could, there was lots of trees, so the wood to make their shelter and this sort of thing. But one of the things that was really hard to find was good old hard cash. And so the Prohibition, both in Arizona and nationally, was a boon to our area, because Payson Dew got to be known far and wide for its quality and how good it was, and people came here, made that 8-hour drive up from the Phoenix area, which was a pretty wild adventure in those days. Now we drive back and forth in about an hour and 15 minutes to hit the freeway, and we don't even think much of it. But it was quite an adventure in the old days, and none of the crossings were bridged. And so if you started home and the creek was up, you may have to camp for 2 or 3 days for it to go back down, and everybody carried stuff in their cars for that. But anyway, thought you'd get a little bit of kick out of seeing a little bit about Payson Dew. And I'll back up here a little bit. We got a pretty big room up here where we can have a number of different displays, and at some point in time I'll tell you about the rest of them. But anyway, that's my story for today. We just hit on 4 minutes, and we'll talk to you again. As I always tell you, love each other, be kind to each other, and we'll talk to you again real soon.